Hi everybody, I hope you're all well. It's been a couple of weeks since you saw me because I've basically fallen down rabbit holes coming from my TV, which has meant that it's taken me longer to read the book I'm here to review. Because firstly, I watched the Tattooist of Auschwitz, which I've never read the book. I vaguely knew the outline of the story, but that was it. And I went into it having absolutely no idea what I was gonna come across. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was an amazing drama. It was brutal, and it took me, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 days. I think it was 2 days to get through all the episodes, but my god, it was so powerful, so much so I have bought the book, so I'm going to be reading that. I think I might read it away from this channel, I'm not too sure, but if I do that, I might get a bonus book review of that. Then I fell down the Grey's Anatomy rabbit hole. Yes, I have never watched Grey's Anatomy before. I was looking around for something, and first thing that I had 3 things that popped up on my Disney Plus recommended, but the very first one was Grey's Anatomy, and I thought, okay, I'll watch an episode, see how I go. I'm now in the middle of series 4 in the space of 2 weeks. So there we go. That tells you something. I'm really enjoying it. And then only on Thursday of this week, we got the first half of series 3 of Bridgerton, which, oh my god, I am obsessed with, and I've nearly screamed when the 4th episode just cut to black in the moment that it does. At that point in the book, I'm like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And now the bloody people at Netflix is making me wait a whole month to be able to carry on. I was having this conversation with myself, my sister, and our bestie Sarah. Hey Sarah. And we were saying that for some shows, like Stranger Things or something, because of the genre and everything, having a break kind of makes sense. But if you've got something like Bridgerton where it's a romance, because the genre, the way it is, having a break for a month just doesn't work. But then of course it's viewing figures and money at the end of the day, isn't it? It all comes down to that. So yeah. But yes, I am just like that, just like consume my heart, my soul, and my brain since Thursday. So because of all those 3 combined, I have just been very trickling through the book I'm here to review, but I finally finished yesterday, and that is Kate Morton's The Clockmaker's Daughter. Now, in case you aren't aware, this is actually my 2nd attempt to read this book. I did try to read it last year. I think it was about October time, or it might have been a bit earlier in the summer. But at the time, because there was stuff going on with work, my brain was all over the place. I found that I wasn't really able to focus, so I just thought, so I wasn't getting along with this, and I just couldn't get past about between 30 and 50 pages. I could not get past it. And so I just decided, you know what, because stuff is going on in my life that's just a bit crazy and hectic, and I don't feel like I'm giving this book the attention it deserves. So I decided to, instead of just go, right, I'm done with that book, for the first time ever on this channel, I put this book back in my jars to be picked at a later point, and now I have picked it. It's taken 2 weeks for me to get through, and I can categorically say that The Clockmaker's Daughter is not the best Kate Morton book that exists. It's not as bad as The Distant Hours, which is considered Kate's worst book. Just in general, if you have a look around, it's not as bad as The Distant Hours, but it's near. Now, what it's about is a woman called Elodie. That's how I saw a name in my head. It's Elodie. So I did, with the IE, I thought I saw it as D. So that's how I've done it. If I'm mispronouncing her name, I apologise. That's just the way in my head I saw her, I thought of her name. So Elodie is in the present. She's in 2017, and she works for a company, and they basically have this archive of objects and such. And one day she gets asked to go to the archives and kind of deal with this thing. And in the archive, it is that this thing is like a bag, and in it has loads of items linked to an artist from the 1860s called Edmund Radcliffe. And it's just this weird jumble of items, and the person who owned this, who gave it to the organisation she works for, really had no connection to Radcliffe at all. It was just kind of like randomly given to them. So she's going through it to see what's in it. And in it, she finds a painting. He was a painter in Victorian England. And she finds this painting of this house. And immediately she connects to it. It's got a very distinct feature of having 8 chimneys. This gorgeous house, and she goes, "That's the house from Mum's bedtime story to me when I was little." Now, her mum died when she was 6 years old because of a car accident, and so the distinct memory she has of her mother is her reading this bedtime story to her off by heart. Every night when she went to bed, about this house with 8 chimneys and events that happened there. And she talks to her dad, and she's like, this is the house. This is the house from Mum's bedtime story. How is that possible? And she learns the house's name, and she goes on this mission to go there and find out what the connection is. At the same time, we have a jump back to the past, to that manor, to that house, and a situation where during the summer at that manor, Edmund Radcliffe is there, and someone is shot at the house. There is a load of secrets, lies, cover-ups, and such, and it's about her finding out the links to the past and everything. Now, so that's your overall outline. So this thing of past and present, flicking back and forth, all that jazz, yeah, it's basically what Kate Morton does. So this isn't anything new. I do feel like as the books have gone along, she has struggled with her structuring. And this was very evident, as I said, in The Distant Hours, which is considered her worst book, and even other books, like there was some quirkiness with like The Lake House and such. But when you go back to the really early stuff like The House at Riverton, The Secret Keeper and such, those are so strong. She has got it down. And I think the key thing here is because of the number of characters. Now, in this book, in The Clockmaker's Daughter, in the past, there's this whole group of artists who are at the manor. So there's loads of them in this manor, and because of that, she has to keep track of them all. So rather than having a smaller number of people in the past, she's making it quite big. And she made this mistake, I felt, with The Distant Hours. There was too much going on that you couldn't keep track, and I felt the same way in this. It was just like, why? It was too much. It was too much. I mean, there was a character in particular called Tip, who, okay, I understood why she needed a named character to do the things that Tip does. I'm saying that in that way because obviously I don't want to spoil. But then at the same time, it's like, why do I need to know this detail about what? He's not special. It's not like he's a key character in this. He's like this secondary character. It kind of felt like the balance was off. And also she has issue in this, for me, the pacing. Like at the very beginning, Elodie, she gets hold of this the satchel as such in the archive, and she's very quickly asking these questions, and then at the same time it just actually stop. I'm going to be really still for a while, and then I'm going to slowly stop. It just felt I didn't feel comfortable reading this book, and I love Kate Morton for her slow burns and her sudden reveals. Like the reveal in The Secret Keeper is absolute perfection. The Forgotten Garden, holy shit. The House at Riverton, oh my god, yes. And then she does ones like this where everything is kind of upended and you just feel awkward and uncomfortable and confused, or at least in my opinion that's how I felt. It all just felt a bit wrong. Now that doesn't mean that the whole book itself is wrong, far from it, because she's got good characters. It was a pretty interesting story. Okay, I did guess some things, but overall it wasn't too bad. It just felt like she'd hit the mark wrong on the structuring. I have noticed that as I've read these, because now I've read all of her books apart from her most recent one called Homecoming, but I've noticed as she's gone along, I think she's become more and more aware of her fans and what they expect of her. Because if you go backwards, and even to her very first book where there was no expectation whatsoever, you can see how brilliant she is in writing it and sewing in the little tiny details that are going to creep up to reveal this big master plan. But then she's like, and now it kind of feels like she's thinking, okay, my fans are going to expect this, so I've got to do this whacking big thing here and that whacking big thing there. That subtle weaving of a story has slowly diminished through her books. Granted, in The Lake House, I felt that she had brought it back. That just, hang on, I just need to check something. I just thought, because it's The Distance, is The Lake House before or after The Distance Hours? I need to just check on the listing. So The House of Riverton, The Forgotten Garden, The Distant Hours, The Secret Keeper, The Lake House. Right, okay, so The Secret Keeper is a banger of a book after the major disappointment of the Distant Hours. And yeah, The Lake House, it kind of has that in-between balance. So yeah, you can see her, it almost felt like she pulled back really tightly, really quick to how she used to be for The Secret Keeper, and it worked so well. And then she's slowly trying to break it down in The Lake House, but unfortunately for The Lake House, because she kept on saying, oh, that's not possible, there's no such thing as a coincidence, constantly throughout the whole of the book, it meant that the ending was a real disappointment for me, because you can guess. So yeah, it just feels like as she's gone along, she's felt like I've got to do something bolder, I've got to do something different, I've got to pull the rug out from underneath them in different ways. You can pull the rug out in different ways, but you can still do it with a subtle artistry that she has shown in books like The Forgotten Garden, The House at Riverton, and The Secret Keeper. I mean, The Secret Keeper, I still, to this day, remember when I was about, I don't know, 24, 25. So when I first read it, I still remember, to this day, the one line that revealed everything and the biggest gasp I did. And I can remember it happening. I know where I was. So to have that kind of feeling and have that remembrance to that book shows you the power of her writing. But it just felt like with this one, she went back again and went, okay, what can I do that's different? Da, da, da. There's no problem with experimenting. My God, writers do experiment because you do have that thing that you don't want things to become stale. You want to keep audiences on their toes, but you don't want to completely contradict everything that you have built your career up on. So I do have to applaud Kate for experimenting and trying things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work, because you do get some writers who follow the same way of structuring their books and then find that they might develop a bit of an ego about it, and not gonna name names, but there are some writers out there who get very annoyed about criticisms of their work. So Kate, for trying something different, I applaud you. As I said, it's not a bad story. It just felt like everything was just a little chaotic at times. There was like too many characters, there was too much stuff going on, and sometimes I just felt like, can we just stop? And there were parts, especially the beginning, where like you don't know who on earth, whose perspective you are reading. You don't know what time zone they're in. You don't understand anything, and it just goes on for page after page after page, and it's a bit like, what are you doing, Kate? It just, sometimes it just felt a bit, but I don't think it's as bad as The Distant Hours at all. The Distant Hours is something else, but it doesn't feel like she's on par with her best work. I think this is below Lake House. So if I just get the list up again, if I were to rank them from lowest to highest, Distance Hours is definitely at the bottom. Then I think I would choose this one. Then The Lake House. Oh gosh, then the top three. Okay, then I'm going to put The Secret Keeper. Oh, that really hurt to do that as third. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be really controversial now. I'm going to put Riverton as third. I'm going to put Secret Keeper as second and Forgotten Garden as first. Oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. But so as you can see, it's not a bad book. Distance Hours I would never read again, I think. This one I would, but I'd have to take my time with it. I might read another book at the same time, but from like The Lake House upward, I would definitely read again, even though Lake House did have its problems. And as I said, the whole coincidence, constant referral throughout. Overall, structurally, character, pace, everything, it's not bad at all. This one is just like that weird, unstable, just slightly below it. So it's not a bad book, but it's not a great book either. I don't know how else to explain it. It just, it has its problems. It has its problems. So I followed on the journey. At times it just felt a bit mental. And sometimes I was just like, oh, for goodness sake, just get these characters out of here. If I don't need them, if I don't need to know who they are and such, just get them away. Just get them away, please. Even though it is frantic, Kate is very good at her atmosphere. It did feel gothic. It felt like she was playing more with her gothic writing than she had previously, even though She is very good with her Gothic writing in like The Forgotten Garden and such. But I think it's in this one in particular because it was a Victorian painter, and the movement, the artist movement of the time, and the group who were there in the 1860s, with the stuff that they are doing. It links so much to Gothic stuff, so I could understand why that was applicable here. But yeah, it just felt a little sometimes that I was just reading to get through some sections. I wasn't necessarily enjoying those sections, but overall it's better than for the Distant Hours. So there we go. So those are my thoughts on The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. Time to ask my usual questions. Would I read this again? Right now, no. In the future, maybe. But I'm not. I would definitely take The Lake House, The Secret Keeper, House at Riverton, and The Forgotten Garden over this straight away. And interesting enough, Homecoming, the next book my mum has just finished reading, she hasn't read The Clockmaker's Daughter. She read Homecoming, and the last one that she read was Distant Hours, which she absolutely hated, and that's why she's not read any more of Kate's books. But I got her a copy of Homecoming. She read it, absolutely loved it. She absolutely loved it. So I see that as a good sign for going forward, that Homecoming, she's gotten back to her old structuring and such. But yeah, so I might even take Homecoming over this one. I don't know. But right now, no, I wouldn't read this again. Would I recommend this to anyone? I'd say if you want to read through her bibliography, then certainly read it, but I would definitely recommend other Kate Morton books over this one. Definitely. Would I read any more of Kate's books? Well, yeah, I've got one left to read, Homecoming, and then I have read everything. And yeah, I'd certainly, as I said, those books that I really, really enjoyed of hers that I have reviewed on this channel, I would definitely reread. But The Distant Hours is a big no-no. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. Have you read this book? I'd like to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely to you decide. And I'll be back with my thoughts on my next read, which is The Cinder Path by Catherine Cookson. Look at that beautiful 1970s cover. It's gorgeous. I'm actually going to be working in my office for 3 days this week, so let's see how long this takes to get through, because obviously trips to town on the bus and all that lot, it's coming with me. So let's see how long it takes for me to get through The Cinder Path. All right, everyone, bye.